putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. The Democrats released their response to the Nunes memo, and essentially they validated what everything Nunes said. They validated that they didn't say that Hillary Clinton's campaign cheated, but they effectively said Hillary's campaign cheated, that the Democrats cheated, that the FISA judges that got the information were not told anything about how the information was gotten to. It was a completely illegal. The fruit, what do they call it? The rotten fruit of the tree, or the fruit of the rotten tree, or something like that. It was all faked. It was fabricated. There's no basis in it at all. Wow. Congratulations to us for learning what we already know. Hey, before we get into what Adam Schiff said, do you guys know, just out of curiosity, what AR stands for in AR-15? What do you think most people think? I mean, do you know? You know? What do you think it is? Assault rifle? Most people think it's assault rifle. It's not. It stands for Armalite rifle, which was the manufacturer of the original AR-15. And people think of it as assault rifle 15. It shoots a 223 shell, about the size of a 223 grain shell, and which is I had a 222 when I was a kid. I shot a 243 that was a deer. It would bring down a deer. You get 222. They tell you don't hunt with that. A 223, that shell won't kill. Don't misunderstand me. It's enough to stop a guy. But sniper rifles and things like that, they don't use those. That's a chumpy rifle, an AR. I shoot AR-15s at 100 yards, and I'm sure it's probably got up to say 500 yards. It's probably okay. I would really like somebody that understands ballistics to say this, but you don't know for sure. But it's not a rifle that you're going to shoot at say half a mile or anything close to that. You know what a half a mile is? What? 1,760 yards. So half a mile is going to be half of that. So you're talking about, roughly 900 yards. An AR-15's a joke at that range. You could slap the bullet down. Bink! It probably isn't that bad. But you get what I'm saying. There are rifles that make this thing look completely what it is, which is benign. But it's an affordable weapon that you can deck out. Some people can have these things where they deck them out and they can cost $3,000, $4,000. But an AR-15, if you just go and you get normal stuff for it, it'll cost you well under $1,000. There are pistols that you can pay much more than for an AR-15. Just to put it in perspective. These people don't want the AR-15, they want your guns. Anyway, back to Adam Schiff. So, top Democrat in the House Intelligence Committee, and President Trump fired after the release of the report, which he saw. He goes, there's nothing to this report. It validates what Nunes says. This report shows that this is a joke. What we've been talking about here is a joke on this Russian investigation, and it should end. In fact, before we go even further, we have that clip of, I believe it's Jim Jordan, who, by the way, I saw at CPAC. Jim Jordan, representative, is discussing, he's hammering Mueller on the investigation of the IRS thing, and which, by the way, the Obama administration ended up clearing itself over the IRS scandal. We later find out it was a lie, but here's Mueller answering questions that Jim Jordan's asking of this investigation at the time.
How many agents, investigators you've assigned to the case?
May be able to do that, but I'd have to get back to you.
Can you tell me who the lead investigator is?
Off the top of my head, no.
This is the most important issue in front of the country the last 6 weeks. You don't know who's heading up the case? Who the lead investigator is?
At this juncture, no, I do not know who the...
Can you get that information to us? We'd like to know. We'd like to know how many people you've assigned to look into this situation.
I have not had a recent briefing on it. I had a briefing on it when we first initiated it, but I have not had a recent briefing as to where we are.
So you don't know who's leading the case?
I do not know who is the lead agent.
Do you know if you've talked to any of the victims? Have you talked to any of the groups who were targeted by their government? Have you met with any of the Tea Party folks since May 14th, 2013?
I don't know what the status of the interviews are by the team that's on it.
Would you expect that that's been done?
Certainly at some point in time in the course of the investigation will be done, but generally at the outset of the investigation you get the documents so that you can have a real...
But don't you normally talk to the victims?
I do not know specifically what is happening.
In your extensive record and history and investigative work, don't you typically talk to the victim? It's a criminal investigation. Don't you typically talk to the victims pretty soon?
Absolutely. I'm sure will happen.
So did the FBI contact any of these same victims? Were they contacted by the FBI prior to the investigation when these same groups were applying for tax-exempt status? Did the FBI pay some of these individuals a visit?
I do not know.
Pardon?
I do not know.
You don't know?
I do not know.
Some of them testified that they were paid a visit by the FBI. Specifically, Catherine Engelbrecht in Texas said she was visited by the FBI. She was head of True the Vote. Is that true or not?
Do not know.
As I said, guys, that's the guy who was running the FBI at the time when we were looking into the scandal involving the intimidation of groups that were, conservative groups trying to get tax exempt status. Normal stuff. This is just normal day-to-day activities of following the rules of the game, which we don't see it as a game. We see it as exercising, rights so that we can make sure we hold our government accountable. And True the Vote, understanding where are the voter ID stuff, where's all this stuff coming from? Are they allowing illegals to vote? In order to stop us, they conspired with the FBI, with the IRS. It was all a big cabal, and we got wrapped up in it. And Mueller is going, I don't know. None of the investigative procedure, the procedural things that would happen in a normal investigation occurred. And Mueller's going, I don't know. He's not saying, I see where you're going, Representative Jordan. I see where you're going, Congressman. And you know what? You're exactly right. We're going to look into this. We're going to find it. They exonerated themselves. If we go back and look at Mueller's testimony in that, do you really think this guy can be fair? Look, I understand the jury's out. We don't know what's really happening here. We suspect that Mueller is a swamp rat. I think Mueller's a swamp rat. I think at this stage of the game, Mueller's looking for a way out that appeases both parties. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for the truth. How sad is that? See, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know. I do know that Trump did nothing, but wherever the evidence would lead, I'm okay with where it goes. But I've seen where the evidence has led, and you know what? I haven't found anybody willing to do something about it. Which brings me to Sessions. I said I was going to talk about Sessions. So I met with a guy. Used to be with the NRA, worked for various presidents, I think in the Bush administration. And he says to me, Kevin, you've been hard on Sessions. I've been following your tweets, following your work. And I have been hard on Sessions because I'm saying to myself, this is a guy that's over the Department of Justice. He could have easily said, you know what? We got enough evidence here. We're going to get a special counsel and we're going to start looking into the, Uranium One. We're going to start a similar investigation. It's now going to take a different direction in terms of Russian interference, and it's going to be targeted at Hillary Clinton and Obama, his administration, Susan Rice, etc. He's got 3 or 4 things he could open up right now, and I know you guys are asking because I'm getting your notes. Kevin, what's going on here, man? And I'm going, I'm trying to figure this out myself. And a guy said to me, this gentleman, he says, Kevin, Sessions is doing that. He's got 5 different investigations open. He goes, but he's actually done it smart. Now, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase what he said. And I think this one thing will kind of set the stage. He says he's got an open investigation into Uranium One. It originates in Arkansas. He says he hired, and I remember the article because I remember writing about this, Sessions getting somebody in Arkansas, a special prosecutor in Arkansas to look into the allegations around the Uranium One. But he's not doing it in D.C. And the guy told me, he says, now ask yourself why that's not happening. And I thought about it and said, because he doesn't want it to be, the normal D.C. bureaucrats. And he goes, bingo. Sessions isn't going through the normal channels because he knows he can't trust anybody there. That's why he did it in Arkansas. The Clintons have no friends there. He's using, I don't know who it is. Like I said, go look at the story. But there's an investigation that's been opened in Arkansas. So before we jump this guy, and I'm guilty of it myself, but this is one of these places where I tell people that I'm just as, I'm going to go after the people that I don't think are giving us justice, in this case, Sessions. But if it turns out that I'm wrong, then I'll be happy to admit it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm definitively wrong. I believe Sessions should have done something. But if he's smart enough not to play it by the book, because people know Washington a lot better than I do, congratulations to him. And maybe we should all be looking at what is the real potential impact here. But I will tell you, this guy certainly made me feel better after I thought about it.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.